Hey guys, my name is Jennifer Brave. I'm the founder and owner of Facets Relational Care, and today I'm just going to be doing a brief introductory video on the withdrawing, depending, and aggressive stances in the Enneagram. So they're just three different groups of three. In the aggressive stance, which I really prefer to call the assertive stance, it sounds a little less violent that way, we have Enneagram types 3, 7, and 8. And then we have the withdrawing types, which are Enneagram types 4, 5, and 9. And then the Enneagram types 1, 2, and 6 comprise the dependent stance, which is the stance that I'm in. I'm a type 6. So the stances in general, it's the way that the Enneagram describes how each personality style obtains what they want. That's one way to think of it. I prefer to describe it as the way that each personality style responds initially when their core fear is triggered, okay? So there are three different types of response: an assertive response, a withdrawn response, and then what we call a dependent response. I'm probably going to start calling that an orienting response. I think it fits a little bit better. So when we're talking about the numbers in the assertive stance, so we're talking about types 3, 7, and 8 again, these are the people that when their core fear is triggered, they're not going to have any of that. They assert their will, they assert the energy in their personality, they make life work for them. They're not just going to sit there and feel threatened, feel intimidated by whatever it is that intimidates them or threatens them. It's different depending on whether or not they're a 3, a 7, or an 8, but that's a separate video. So they're an assertive type. They tackle it, they fix the problem, they keep going, okay? Then you have the withdrawing types, which again are types 4, 5, and 9. They do the opposite with their energy. They take the energy in and they hold it inside, and it's almost kind of like they're building this little stone castle, if you will, that is protective for them, all right? So they leave, they withdraw, okay? They don't participate with that. They conserve energy and they use their energy to sustain themselves when they feel that their core fear is threatened. And again, the threat is going to be different depending on whether or not we're talking about a 4, 5, or 9, separate video, okay? Then we get to the dependent stance, which at this point, again, I think it's probably more appropriate to call it the orienting stance, simply because what it means to be in the dependent stance is that you're looking for things outside of yourself to orient around. In other words, I'll put it to you like this. Those in the assertive stance, 3s, 7s, and 8s, they know that they're okay because they made their life okay, right? And then when you're a 4, a 5, or a 9 and you're in the withdrawing stance, you know that you're okay because you got away from life. You shut it out, you went into your own internal space, and that's how you know you're okay. You know what I mean? You just got the fuck out of there, right? And then you have the dependent stance. So the dependent stance, we don't do any of that. We look to things outside of ourselves for rules and expectations, and we try to adhere to those things, believing that if we do so, it eliminates what we consider to be the threat, okay? And again, different for a 1, a 2, and a 6, all right? So one way that I like to teach this, because I know that the stances can be a little bit confusing. When I was first learning the Enneagram, this was confusing for me. This was one of the harder things to learn. Is I like to use an adrenaline rush as an analogy. So fight, flight, or freeze, okay? Those in the assertive stance, types 3, 7, and 8, they are the equivalent to what I would call the fight response to an adrenaline rush, right? They feel threatened and they immediately fight. You know what I mean? They're not going to run away. They're not going to sit there and take it. They're going to fight back. That's how they eliminate the threat, okay? And then you have the withdrawing types 4, 5, and 9. Again, I like to equate those to the flight, okay? So we have fight, we have flight, because again, they withdraw, they get out of there, they disengage, they close off, and they're done. You know what I mean? That's how they protect themselves from the threat, is they go inside and use their energy to take care of themselves, not even really worried about the threat on the outside. It's fine, it's going to be whatever it is. I'm just going to kind of come in here and compartmentalize and take care of myself so that it doesn't even matter what the threat is anymore, right? And then you have the dependent stance, and I think this is the one that equates more with the freeze response to an adrenaline rush. And this is a very abstract concept, so I'm going to try to explain it as best as I can, but here's why I think that. When you have an adrenaline rush and your option is to freeze, you are neither pushing against the threat or pulling away, right? You're not withdrawing and you're not fighting. That's why they call it freeze, because you're sitting still. And in order to freeze when you feel threatened, what's happening really in that moment is you're deferring to the thing that's threatening you. Here's why. When you have an adrenaline rush and you freeze, in essence, really what you're doing is you're waiting for the threat to take the next move. It's kind of like the idea is I'll just sit still and maybe it won't notice me and it'll go around me and, you know what I mean? It just won't see me and it'll ignore me. So in other words, you're aware that this threat is here and that the threat has an intention for you and you don't like it because it feels threatening, right? But you don't run away from it and you don't fight it. So you just kind of sit there and hope that by sitting there and by being still, maybe that threat will make up its mind to leave you alone. Maybe it will forget about you. Maybe it won't see you. Maybe it won't miss you. So in a way, the freeze response to an adrenaline rush is a deferment to the threat, okay? And that's what those in the dependent stance do. We defer to other people to get what we want when we feel threatened. I'm gonna make another video where I go into each individual number and talk about specifically what that looks like, because all the 9 personality types do it differently, right? But for now, just as an introductory idea, I'll give you an idea about what that looks like for me as a type 6, because I can talk about that a little bit more personally. So as a 6, I always like to use jobs as an example. If I were at work and maybe I overheard my boss talking about, I don't know, I did something that she didn't like, or someone came to her and reported to her that I did or said something that was offensive to somebody else, and she's in there and she's talking to some other person in management or HR or whoever, and the discussion that I overhear are, whether or not I should be fired or written up, things of that nature, demoted, whatever. I'm a 6, so I am like safety conscious first. I'm very, very concerned about bad things happening to me. What if I can't survive them? What if I don't have what I'm gonna need? So I'm always trying to live in such a way that those things won't happen to me. And that sentence right there was the dependent mindset in one sentence, okay? So in that situation, what I would do is I would go back and I would think, okay, what have I done recently that could have been interpreted as offensive? Who do I know that could have been offended by what I did or what I said? Maybe I need to go to them and apologize and explain myself. Was there like a policy that I violated? Maybe I should go back and just read those and make sure that I know what those are. Maybe I should try really, really hard from this point on to just do everything the way that I'm supposed to do it and make everybody happy, because then that way I get to keep my job and everything will be okay and I'll be safe. So that's how I defer to the threat, right? I'm in the moment. I didn't leave. I didn't withdraw. And at the same time, I don't go in and I immediately just defend what I do and, screw them. I'll go get another job and I don't really care, which is more of an assertive response, even if, 3, 7s, and 8 don't do exactly that, but that would be an assertive mindset, So I don't do that as a 6. I'm present. I freeze. I'm there with the threat and I orient around it. Whatever the threat is doing determines what I do, right? So anyways, that's just an example. I think that's a really easy way to understand the different stances of being an assertive type, a withdrawing type, or a dependent type. Again, I'll do another video or a blog post or a podcast on my new Patreon account in the future that kind of breaks those down, so keep an eye out for that. I'm going to put the link to my Patreon account down below, so if you want to go check it out and subscribe, I've got all sorts of really, really cool stuff that I'm making now that I've never had before, higher quality content, lots of fun stuff, free things too. So anyways, go check it out, and yeah, till next time.